mask up or mask up, depending on how you want to interpret it. It's playing on this double entendre of masculinity being the mask. We often associate that with emotional detachment and an inability to be emotionally vulnerable. Particularly for Cal, they have a really hard time accessing their emotional vulnerability. I think it's very, for lack of a more political term, boy energy.
Bernie Van Tiel, BVT, is a writer, songwriter, actor, beatboxer, and rapper that brings a much-needed energy to the so-called Australian arts and creative space. Bernie has been seen on screens in Class of '07, Erotic Stories, and soon to be Swift Street. The Casting Guild of Australia come together to identify a group of extraordinary actors they believe have the potential to break out on the world stage, the CGA Rising Stars. And we have the opportunity to chat with one of this year's recipients. BVT, thank you so much and welcome to the For Your Reference podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is like my most anticipated interview. I've loved getting to proverbial know you and research about you. And
no way.
There's so much in the art that you create and you breathe into this world that I want to talk about, and potentially the best parts of us that potentially are used in commercial spaces. But before we even get to that, I guess I want to talk about the CGA Rising Star. First off, congratulations. And how does it feel?
I feel like, I'm supposed to say it feels like this, I don't know. I don't really know how to articulate it, but it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, it doesn't feel real yet. Therefore it doesn't exist. But I think as soon as I step into the room and just get a sense of the energy and everything, it'll really sink in. That's kind of how I am though with everything. Even when I perform, I'm very much like, well, this doesn't exist yet.
But you also seem like a very immersive sort of person. You're in the arts, you're in the creating of it. You want to accolade me? Cool, but I'm over here.
Yeah, very much that. I think, accolades are such an interesting thing because, art is for expression. Art is for, storytelling and passing on cultural stories and meaning, and identity. And to receive accolades is such an interesting thing because it puts it in this competitive environment that makes it a little different. But on the other hand, it's nice to be seen. It's nice to put your representation out there, your culture, your identity, your intersectionality out there. And it's nice for people who have some sort of power or footing or deep roots in the industry to look at you and go, hey, this is great. This is really great.
But creating the best art can be vulnerable as well, right? You're putting your whole pussy and your whole foot into it.
Exactly.
There's a certain sense of exposure, and I guess it's also making sure you and everyone around you is also safe in the industry.
Absolutely. I'm very big on bringing the fam with me as well. Like I feel like if you come from the village and it takes a village, bring them with you.
Yeah.
If you are one of the fortunate few to be able to burst the door down, make sure it stays open.
Yeah. We're keeping the door open. Just get it.
Don't lock the fan out. Don't lock the fan out.
Exactly. Well, because you've done so much, and even leading to acting, you've done so much. But one of the roles that I want to spend a bit of time on is Erotic Stories. Because we got like the screeners or like the SBS screeners. And I think at the time they had only released a few episodes. So I was like, where's BVT? So I was watching like the Railway Hick one. All of them are great.
Stunning.
All of them are great. And then it finally released. And then I saw your episode and I'm like, we need to talk about this.
Let's talk about it.
especially Cal and, talking about, I can only imagine you brought your whole self to it. So I kind of want to understand, I guess, the sort of performance that you bring? Is it bringing a bit of yourself? Is it keeping sort of a distance so you can carry on the next day? Like, what is it like forming that? Because there was some realness in Cal's character.
Yeah. Well, as my partner would like to say every day when I came home from shoot, she'd be like,
Baja, shout out.
yeah, shout out Basha. She'd be like, babe, did you put your whole bussy into it or what? Because I'm not watching unless you put your whole bus into it. I'm like, yeah, okay, pressure's on. But it is a little bit of both. It's breaking down the common ground between you and the person you're portraying, because in actuality, you should be telling the truth, whatever that means in that moment. You should be telling the truth. Otherwise, the camera is so cold, it's going to see through that. And then by default, that's what the audience receives. So, I feel like there are parts of Cal that I identified with, still identify with to this day. And then there's parts of them that I feel like I've evolved from since being in my quote unquote fuckboy era. But like I think I think I think
you're being method,
I was being method.
Yeah.
Totally. No, I think it's just like, using primary experience and secondary experience to break that down with Cal, and also having empathy for your character is so important. I think the moment you start judging who you're portraying, you lose the humanity in them, and then they just become this intangible property that you're exposing. And I don't really like that. I like to understand them a bit more and bring some human to them.
Yeah. Because Cal definitely had some very human moments. I guess if I'm being very generous, I'm like
a bit of backhand. No, the writer is fab,
Is it a conflict of like learning to love the character, or is it you're just in it and this is how Cal would be?
Both. There were moments where I would read it and be like, what the fuck is this person doing? Why? Oh my God, this person's me. Why? And then I'm like, okay, well, if I need to love Cal, I need to love myself. So that was a bit confronting at times. I've mentioned it before, and I mentioned it to our writer, Jean Tong, brilliant, by the way. I was like, bro, I feel so read by this script. I feel read down.
We all need a reading every now and then.
We need a humbling every now and then.
Yeah. A warning would be nice. But,
yeah, thank you. So there were moments like that, but other times I was like, I'm just in this, and this just feels like a fact of life, and I'm here now, and this is my job, so just carrying that out and carrying it through.
I think even the collection of roles that you have are all quite varied. You've got like, big names like Class of '07, and then you've got something so insular and so personal, and something that we don't really see on Australian screens in Erotic Stories as well. Is that a blessing of just like roles that you're allowed or you're given access to audition for, or what does it look like? Is it a conscious decision on, I'm going to choose this sort of role, I'm going to choose this sort of role next?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. For a long time, and I'm not complaining, I love this. For a long time,
safe space, open space.
My typecast had been, edgy chick, chip on shoulder, very likely queer, which is me, I guess. Yeah. So in many ways, I'm just playing myself. But I guess when it came to things like Cal and Class of '07, especially, I got to expand beyond that and introduce some other nuance and other facets that are a part of me, or other sides that I really had to dip into for the first time that I'd never experienced before. So with Tegan in Class of '07, I was actually cast in A Beginner's Guide to Grief at the time.
And you're in the mix for Heartbreak High.
Yeah, and I was in the mix for
Heartbreak. I did my homework,
Oh, good shit. Good on you. I love that. So there was a lot going on, and a lot of those roles were dramatic. And that was what I was used to and what I'd played up until that point. And then the writer, director / creator of Class of '07, Casey Anning, said in one of my callbacks, she was like, look, Bernie, we need to just be honest with you. We love you and we want you, and we understand there's so much going on for you, but drama is always going to be there. Good quality comedy isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, God damn it, you've sold me. So I had to say goodbye to A Beginner's Guide to Grief, which broke my heart a little bit, but I understood that this was an opportunity to expand my comedic chops and provide a new face to the world as well. And it was something that made me nervous, which I think is a good thing. If you're a little bit scared, it means you're about to be a little bit brave.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was really thankful for that, and I'm glad that I did it.
But you're like, you did it so naturally. Would you describe yourself as a funny person?
I would describe myself as a goofy person.
Okay.
I don't know. Like, I feel like people who are funny, my type of humor is quite witty, and a little bit silly. But yeah, I don't know. I find that maybe I think I'm over the top if I'm trying to be funny. But if I don't know, I make my partner laugh, and every day I'm like, I get to make the pretty girl laugh. I'm so happy. Yes, I did something. Maybe I am funny, but
yeah,
I guess that's up to viewers' discretion if they think I'm hilarious or not.
I think,
or maybe we can hang out in person and kiki down together, whatever.
Yeah. But it's like, because as soon as you turn up on the screen in Class of '07, I'm like, we're in for a good time.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how much you can talk about, but I would love to talk a little bit about Swift Street, or even the fact that Class of '07, like, you have like legends that have been around in the Australian acting scene for ages. Cliff Curtis gets all my kisses. But what was it like working on Swift Street? And I guess, what can you say, if you can say anything?
I love Swift Street. I feel almost emotional, actually. Wow, weird. I love it so much. It feels like a piece of home, a piece of family, a piece of community to me. And that's because it is. First of all, it's completely BIPOC run. Shout out Tig Terrera, our creator, writer, director for the first block. And then you have, Black and POC people as strong lead characters that are telling very real stories.
With dimension, or at least it looks like it from the trailer.
Absolutely. And it feels so good to come home, is what it feels like. It feels good to come home, because I think if we're going to say that this is truly a safe space, I think the Australian industry is still not quite open yet.
Yeah.
I feel like it's still very white. It's still very like, I don't know. I think I need help articulating this here, but
I think, or if I can assist, the Australian industry kind of still feels like it needs to have a seat at your story and your life.
Yeah, I feel like we don't want to come to the table anymore. In fact, it's not built for us.
No,
in fact, you come be a guest at the fucking cookout, check out how we get down, check out what we're doing, what we're up to, and be a guest in our house for a change.
Yeah.
Wipe your feet before you enter our house for a change, and listen and understand that this is us, this is who we are, and we're phenomenal, and we're beautiful, and we're stunning, and we deserve just as much screen time, just as equal pay, just as much accolades, just as much fun as everyone else that is already portrayed in this industry. And we can't be, and the whole point about coming to our house, being a guest there and sitting at our table, is that you're not writing the stories for us. You're not pigeonholing and stereotyping us into what you think our narrative should be, because it's still backwards. It's still twisted. And so when I walked into the casting room for Swift Street, when we were doing our first ever table read, and they had the pictures up of everyone's headshots. I nearly cried, bro, because I had to squint so hard to look for a face that didn't reflect my own people, you know, my community.
It's a recentering.
It is. And it was just, that's when the penny dropped for me. I was like, oh shit, we're doing this. And I'm part of something so much bigger than me, my career, whatever it is. This is big. This is a pioneering step towards a very positive future for other creatives in this industry that want to see themselves reflected in the faces they see on their screens.
Absolutely. And if I like our collective ancestors, Black, Brown, Indigenous people, we've been storytellers. We don't need you. We don't need
hard
to tell the stories.
That part, exactly.
Like you can come into the room, but you don't get a stage and you don't get a microphone, but you're welcome to bask in the glory of who we are.
For sure. Just don't put raisins in the potato salad. It's fine. But
those pesky Karens, you know.
Yeah. But
we could talanoa for so many more hours, and I'm so glad we could tokoni like come together and talk. But I guess summing up, because you do so much, this will technically already come out of the pre-saving. But shout outs to God Bless the Trap. Is that the film? Yeah. Is that the music video that you were directing as well? You said in the
yeah. So I had a lot of help with that from Kate Cornish, who co-directed with me and shot the whole thing. But this is, I guess, my directorial debut. And
Hype Williams on the way, I see it.
Hey,
Amy Rockwell on the way, I see it.
all right. But yeah, this is a love letter to another part of my community and the people that I love. So God bless the trap is all I gotta say. It's gonna be fab.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. And you really went there with me, and I really appreciate that as well.
Thank you for holding that space. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.